There have been studies done that 90% of us spend 80% of our time reacting to life and letting life happen to us instead of making it happen for us. So in the visual that you see is our second foundational principle to help us learn how to go from reacting to life to being responsive and ultimately being very in control through the use of intentional principles. So let's talk about reaction. You and I are driving down the road, great open highway, having a lot of fun, and all of a sudden we come to a dead stop. We're inching along for 45 minutes in the traffic jam. How do you feel about that? Do your thoughts and feelings change as a result of that happening? It's like everything that happens to us, we have thoughts and feelings about the things that happen to us, and the question is, which of those do we control? Do we control the happening or the thoughts and feelings? And it comes really into two questions. Do we control our thoughts and feelings, and should we be able to control our thoughts and feelings? And I would suspect you, like me, we know we should, but the question is, do we all the time? So now, how do we gain control over making our responses instead of making reactions? So something happens to us and we immediately think and feel a certain way. That's called a reaction. And when we're reacting, we're out of control. So how do we gain control back and respond to a situation instead of reacting? And that takes training. And an example is, I give two examples here. One is, what's the normal human reaction to fire? And it's to run. I ask the question, is it to run into the fire? And most people say, no, it's to run away. Well, there are some folks who run into a fire, and those are firefighters. And the question is, what makes the difference between a firefighter who runs in and you and I, who were human beings just like the firefighter, who would run away? And the only difference between us is the training that they receive. The second example I use here is a martial artist. And a friend of mine and I are walking home late from a movie, and we go down this dark alley, and somebody jumps out with a knife and wants to mug us. Well, in a split second, I react and drop to the ground and start to shake and react, and my martial arts friend disarms the guy, hits him in the jaw, and the guy runs away. Now, in the same amount of time, I react out of control. My martial arts friend responds in control. What is the only thing that made the difference between the two of us? And that was his training. When you and I are in situations where we typically tend to react, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a work situation, maybe it's responding to somebody who treated you wrong in a restaurant or a service business, what do? We need to train ourselves to change our thoughts and our feelings and move from reaction to responding. Now that happens after something happens. We want to be totally intentional, which means to make some action or change the thoughts and the feelings and anticipate something that could happen, which means that we're fully intentional about what we do. An example might be that same traffic jam that we found ourselves in. Maybe we called Department of Transportation or went on the website to see if there are any accidents on the route that we're choosing and see that there is one, and we chose a different route. If we choose that different route, we've avoided the problem altogether. We didn't have a chance to react or respond. We were intentional ahead of time, which avoided that negative situation. So the principle here is we have a natural tendency to react to situations out of control. With some training of our thoughts and our attitudes and our feelings in a situation, we can move from reacting to being more in control and responding. And then when we get ahead of a situation and we think beyond just that immediate situation, we can be intentional to anticipate a problem and avoid it altogether, or to minimize its negative effect. This reaction response being intentional process, we will see over and over again in all of the programs and processes that we're going to be using.